So,
Awesome. So kicking it off, just so everybody knows, this is RocklandSound. We are a fledgling podcast, video and audio. And we've interviewed a few really cool people over the last 6 episodes. And we got a few more coming down the pike in 2021. This one is very special to me because in addition to really liking rock music, I and also Mike, we're a bit faithful in the way that we walk through this existence that we have in front of us. We have Michael Sweet from Stryper, who's a lead vocalist as well as an amazing guitarist. And just as a background, just very briefly, Stryper has had a storied history beginning, I believe, in the late 80s, where they came out with some Christian rock. That was something that really the mainstream wasn't doing. And due to the quality of the music as well as the depth of the verses, I'm going to add that in there, they were able to break into some places that other people were a little bit afraid to do just because of, let's just say, the social discourse of the time, which sometimes hasn't really improved over the last 10, 20 years. But so Michael has been with the band pretty much from the beginning, as well as his brother Robert on drums. I'm a drummer myself. Mike is a vocalist. Mike Doherty, also co-host. Stryper, the name, I got this from Wikipedia, but Isaiah 53:5, the name Stryper derives from the King James Version of the Bible. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. So my first question to Michael is, how did you come about using that verse for, I guess, the foundation of your band's name and such?
Well, I mean, we started out with the stripes, so the yellow and black and the stripes. We were a band called Rock's Regime, and we had the stripes in place and all the yellow and black. And once we signed a recording contract, the label didn't care for the name Rock's Regime, and I didn't really care for it myself. It was difficult to remember and pronounce. So we started thinking about a name through around, maybe 10, 11, 12, 13 different names, and decided on the name Stryper, spelled with the Y. And then all the yellow and black stripes started to make sense and began to make perfect sense. And that's when, after we changed the name, we started looking for a scripture to be a part of our logo. And if you notice that Isaiah 53:5 is always attached to every single logo design that we've ever done.
Yep.
Because it explains who the band is. By his stripes we are healed. And then it brings full circle the meaning of the stripes themselves. So it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And your Christianity, I'm going to turn this over to Mike because he has a lot of questions as well. But I guess I'm a little excited about this whole interview. But 1975, from what I understand, like your Christianity goes back a little bit further. So that means that, was it something where you grew up with it, or just the various members of the band came about it through their natural lives? It changes for every person.
Well, for me, I became a Christian when I was 12 through Jimmy Swaggart in front of a television, got involved in a church, local Southern Baptist church, for just a short period of time, for about a year, a little over a year. Went to this church pretty faithfully, and consistently. Was part of the music team and went all the time, every Wednesday and Sunday. And we were really involved. And then as we started playing more and more as Rock's, the band ROXX, I started getting more involved in that lifestyle, fell away from church. And then from around the age of maybe 13 or 14 to the age of 20 is when I just wasn't so much into going to church and more about playing every club and backyard party I could play. And it kind of grew up fast and learned a lot during that time, and then came back to God, rededicated my life when I was 20 years old.
Nice. Very cool. And in that time frame, I mean, between the 10s and the 20s, you brought in rock and music into your life. And that ties into one of the first questions that Mike Doherty here likes to ask, and Mike hit it.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
I sure can.
All right. Yeah, because I'm having a problem with my camera. So Tom's handsome mug is going to be the one everybody sees. But you know, I have the lovely voice, so I'm good.
All about the almonds, baby. All about the almonds.
That's it. Yes, we're on a health regime and a rocks regime question now. We like to ask. You know, we're trying to be a little bit different because there's 80 million podcasts out there. So one of the questions that we like to ask all of our guests is what is the first album that you bought with your own money that moved you to do whatever you had to do to get it and go out and I need that album?
Well, one of the first, when I was growing up, I listened to my dad's albums and my brother's albums. So I didn't buy too many albums until I was 13, and I bought the Boston album.
Well, we're setting up you're segueing into something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was 13, and that's the first official album that I bought with my own money. And then I bought many albums after that of my own. But I mean, again, I listened to a lot of my brother's albums and my dad's albums, from Creedence Clearwater to Elvis Presley to Uriah Heep to Grand Funk Railroad to the Bee Gees to, I mean, you name it.
Right. We when we asked the question, you know, it's one of those things that obviously we all went and dug in. You know, I went into the closet one time and I was, you know, a metalhead when I got into music, you know, young, Van Halen and whatever, and Kiss and stuff initially. But then I went into the closet and I found my stepfather's old record collection, and it was all Temptations and the old Chicago albums. And I carried this, you know, I was a little guy and I carried this thing all the way up the stairs, and I was like, it's Christmas. Let's find out what's on here. And all of a sudden I'm listening to Chicago. My mother's like walking by my room and she's like, where did you get that? And I was like, I don't know. It was in the closet. And she's like, oh, it's your stepfather's stuff because he loved them. I will tell the funny story about my mom since it's set up. And then I'll ask a follow-up question. I went into a record store. We had a store called Alwick Records. And I grew up in West Orange, New Jersey. And I walked in, and what I would usually do is whenever I had any money was, try to find a band I liked or find something new. And a lot of bands, I bought the album based on the cover of it, not even the music. I didn't even hear the music.
Right.
And yours is one of those ones. I think it was the Yellow and Black Attack. Wasn't that where you were in front of like the van, the battle looking van?
Yeah, that was actually Soldiers Under Command. That was the cover.
Oh, no. Okay, but I got the Yellow and the Black Attack first on cassette. So that was
Yellow and Black Attack was the one with the Earth and the God's hand and the missiles. Yeah.
Okay. So I mixed them up. But I bought that and I loved it. And then I went in and I bought Soldiers Under Command when it came out. So if you remember back in the day, they used to have like things like big old stereos that looked like a piece of furniture.
Oh yeah.
So we had one in our living room that had like, if you flipped up the top, it had like the record player and the radio and the 8-track and all that.
Yeah.
The thing could rattle the neighborhood.
Wow.
And my mother went out to go out and go buy groceries, and I got your album, and I'm put it on, cranking it. The house is rattling. I fell in love with it instantly. It totally sang to me. And so probably the third time through, my mother comes walking in right as Makes Me Want to Sing comes on.
Yeah.
And she's like, turn that down. And I'm like, I ignored her, right? And all of a sudden, it's Jesus makes me.
And then she goes, turn it up.
Yeah, right. No, but she walks by, goes to the kitchen, and said, and anytime she was annoyed at me, she said my full name. So it'd be Michael. And I turned and I looked at her and she went, are you singing Jesus? And I just gave her the horns and just went back to the song. And I saw her out of the corner of her eye, just rub her face, like, what am I doing with him? Because probably yesterday, the day before, I was listening to Wasp or something in Metallica or whatever it was,
Well,
she was just like, well,
I think a lot of kids probably experienced similar stories, like they went through similar stories like that, where they were listening to Motley Crue or Wasp or whoever,
Black
and
Sabbath. Yeah.
yeah, and then they were popping in or popping on or putting on or whatever phrase you want to use, a Stryper album.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about Stryper is we somehow were able to relate to all the people that were listening to everything else, but they'd still listen to us because I think they like the sound of it. Some people might not agree with the message or the lyrics. I talk about this all the time, but we have Satanists who are big fans. We have atheists who are big fans.
Yeah.
They obviously don't believe in the message or care about the message, but they love the music.
Yeah, but the power in your positivity, regardless of what they want to read into your message. I mean, look, the first thing you are is a songwriter, and you're a hell of a songwriter. And so you're going to be you can grab anybody with that. The message, and I'm not minimizing it, especially in a year like 2020 and the things that are going on in the world, you're needed more than ever, or a message like that is needed more than ever.
So absolutely 100% agree.
Okay. So I think that, but the songwriting, regardless of the message, is there. And,
right.
And that's what's kept me with you all these years. I think you keep getting better.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, we've always gone out of our way to, make sure that the message is on par with the music. So it's important. The message is equally as important, if not even more important. Right. And it's, that's what is a lot of times people will hear the beat or hear the guitar riff or the tone or whatever, and that'll grab them in. But then once they really dive into the lyrics and realize what they're singing, it takes root and has an effect on them. And hopefully for us, a positive effect. So it's a big deal. The lyrics we write, just as much as the music, is a big deal. And we hope to continue writing really powerful stuff that changes lives and alters lives. And that's why we're here.
I have to
This is one of the few bands that I don't have to go through mental exercises to consider that this is a good band. And every other, I mean, there's a lot of bands out there that I listened to over the years, and some of them are just like, I just can't. And then there's some that are like right in that middle gray zone. It's like, do I really want to get too deep into their lyrics and like align with their worldview and such? So that thankfully doesn't happen here. I did want to ask you about a few of the albums. The particular one that I liked the most was Reborn.
Yes.
One of the reasons is because, and I'm kind of like a 90s child, I guess you'd say. So like I was in that whole grunge scene with Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and that sort of like. And I found that the grunge in there kind of like spoke to me along with the lyrics. There was also another album called Against the Law. All right. So, and this was an interesting album. It's really one that stands out separately in that it was a radical shift from the references that were in many of the other albums. And my question is, because and I get it. I mean, there's a lot of societal pressures that come at us when we're trying to just interpret how we communicate them back out. So was it more just internal, like, the record labels and everything saying, oh, you got to do this? Or was this something that each of the band members brought to the table and said, all right, let's go a little bit in a different direction just to, I guess, spread our wings a little bit? I mean, you obviously came back to the foundations, but what was the vibe with Against the Law going into it?
I mean, I think it was a time that we were all going through. We were going through a bit of a rebellious time. During rehearsals, we had drank alcohol before, back in the early days. And then when we rededicated our lives, we gave all that up. Mm-hmm. And during the Against the Law sessions, we started reintroducing that again. And one guy would walk in with the 6-pack and another guy with another 6-pack and another guy with wine coolers and another guy with this, and we started drinking more and more. And we just took on a little bit more of a rebellious attitude. We started rebelling against a lot of Christians that had come against us. That came out in our lyrics. It came out in our attitudes, came out in our spirits. And with those changes, we started changing the sound. the look. We dropped the yellow and black and went with
the blue and stuff. You went
blue and purple and exactly. And we just basically, I think, subconsciously wanted to change everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look back on that album, not that it's a bad album, it's a great album, but it's an album that I don't even really listen to.
Right. Right.
And the reason why I don't listen to it is because I feel like it was a dark place in our career.
Mm-hmm.
And we made some big mistakes during that time that I wish we hadn't made. It taught us a lot and helped us to grow into the men that we are now. But at the same time, I'm regretful of a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's life, though. We go through ups and downs and ups and downs, and we're gonna all see some darkness in our lives, and it's really the testament to pulling yourself out of it that is the strength of, look, you're here still.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, for sure. And that's why, obviously, we got through it and it made us who we are today. But at the same time, I just look back on that and I think, why did we change all that? Why did we drop the yellow and black? I mean, that's such a significant part of who we are. Yeah. And to just throw that out the window, and the tone, the guitar tones, the approach to songwriting and recording. Stryper, love it or hate it, Stryper has a very unique sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you do.
Why? It's like Boston. Boston has a really unique sound. Imagine if Boston released an album and then Tom has a Keith Richards guitar tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, to that effect,
people are like, well, it sounds amazing, but it doesn't sound like Boston, and that's what I was unfortunately really bummed out by back in the day. Subconsciously, I was thinking about all this in my head, going along with it, but I was thinking, God, we're losing everything, everything that we built. And that's why that album is, everybody knows that album's not one of my favorites. It's a great album. People love it. It's even some fans' favorite, but man, it's not on my top 10 list at all.
I have to say it's probably the least favorite of your albums, but I did get it when it came out and I wore it out.
Yeah.
So it does have great songs on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And on my phone, I have about 4 of the songs. I have my 4,000 song playlist on my iPhone. And, I think Lady came on the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a great song.
Lady's one of my favorites. Lady and All for One. Caught in the Middle, there's some great songs on that
your
album.
Version of Shining Star Kills. That's great. Tom has a little area he wants to go into, but I want to give you another thing that popped into my head, and I hadn't thought about it, and I did a lot of research on thinking about what we both did about what we wanted to talk to you about. Was I'll tag it with something funny, because when my son was younger, he liked Veggie Tales.
Right.
Okay. So do you know what I'm sure you do, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Right. So I had to go into the family store, which was a Christian store. And I'm like, all right, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to, I'm just kind of mellowed out looking. So I'm like, I don't want to everybody looking at me, because we were playing in bands at the time. Me and Tom were in a band together. Yeah. And so I walk in there, and of course, it's a Christian store. And I went in there and the lights of heaven came on. Let's be dramatic, right? And it was the best Stryper store and Michael Sweet store I ever found.
Nice.
That store was being funded by your stuff. I was like buying picture discs, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be buying Veggie Tale videos.
That's awesome.
Like, I'm spending $100 on your solo albums I never heard. And it like reintroduced me to you. And then I lived in Parsippany, New Jersey, and you guys went to, I don't know if it was a Christian conference, and that's where you guys reunited, isn't it? And like 5,000, there was people, they couldn't even get people into that place. It was in a castle, a hotel that looked like a castle.
Oh yeah, that was in Parsippany.
Yeah, that's where I lived.
Yeah, Parsippany, and it was the Stryper. It kind of like Kiss has a.
The convention.
I'm not even sure what they call it, like Kiss Expo.
Convention.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And it was one of those basically. And it was headed up by a guy by the name of Rich Serpa.
Okay.
And he's a dear friend of ours, and we wound up doing a second one out in California. We only did 2 of those Stryper Expos.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And
so
it was a lot of fun, man.
It was about you guys then. But
Say that
it
again?
It was about you guys then, so it was Stryper focused.
It was only about Stryper. It was
okay, that's
Stryper
awesome.
only. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I think I didn't hear about it when it happened. I heard about it like right after on like our local. I think it was on like our newspaper, like on the front page, that you guys packed. Like there were so many people they couldn't even get them all in.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. I mean, honestly, that's the thing about Stryper that is always mind blowing. Is we never know what to expect. We always go into every event that we do or album that we do expecting the least. Okay, so it's not really expecting much, thinking, okay, you know, maybe this would do fairly well, or we might have 100 people turn out. And the thing that's always humbling to us is the turnouts are always great for everything we do. You know, we'll go do an in-store and we'll expect 100 people, and we'll go and there's 1,000 people.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter as long as you have like that foundation that you're happy with what you've created and what you've produced and put out there. And if it's one person or 1 million or 10 million people or more, you know, you feel good about what you've produced and put into the world.
I'm going to
It's always miraculous with us. I mean, the turnouts are always far beyond our expectations, and we're always humbled by that because, like with our last album, you know, even the devil believes we expected it to do fairly well, but not as well as it's been doing. It's doing incredibly well. The numbers, the reviews, everything. It's just, and I feel like that's God's blessing the band. It's incredible.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to ask you about how your faith has informed your personal lives. And I never delve into anything that's too intrusive or anything like that. But and one of the reasons why I brought up against the law was because I think that every human being goes through those times where they just have moments of crisis. I was watching the end of the Queen's Gambit on Netflix last night.
Oh yeah.
And, great show, and of course, and it's a fictional, but Beth Harmon is she's just a chess master, but she went through toxic times and difficult times in her life, at least fictionally. But my question is, how does your faith inform your personal life? I know that, you know, the band has suffered through some personal setbacks and tragedies. And, you know, what does your faith mean to you specifically? Like, how does it inform your everyday life?
Well, I mean, it is life.
Mm.
You know, it is my life. It's in my DNA. It's part of who I am. You know, like getting dressed or going to bed or brushing my teeth or eating food or breathing air, whatever it is. It's all part of my life, and it's just who I am. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And my goal is until the day that I take my last breath, is to inspire people with God's love and his message through the music I feel he's given to me. You know, he's given me these abilities, so I want to give back to him.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Bible verse? I have one from a different, it's not King James version, it's the Message. I like that because it's got a little bit like of an offbeat humor to it. Luke 9:58, Jesus is talking with some guy, and he's like, and the guy's like, Lord, I will follow you anywhere. And the verse, I think King James version is, foxes have dens and the birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to sleep. But in the Message version, Jesus says, are you sure you want to hang out with us? We don't sleep in the best hotels. So do you have like a favorite verse that you kind of, or a favorite chapter or anything that you like to lean back on?
You know what? I always say this, but it's so true, and I'm just going to give you the truth. It seems like a little bit of a cop-out, but it's not. But my favorite scripture always has been Isaiah 53:5.
That's cool.
And the reason why it's my favorite isn't just because I use it, but it's because of the power and the simplicity of it. By his stripes, we are healed.
Mhm.
You know, and that one little sentence says everything.
True.
You know, just devote your life to God. He's healed us. He's already solved all the problems. He's got all the answers if we just believe. And it's so simple with that one scripture, by his stripes we're healed, Isaiah 55. So that's always going to be my favorite.
One little tag on to Tom's question, the initial question about getting through hard times. You brought up Boston, which you were in, and that was after Brad Delp took his own life.
It was
Yeah, so
basically
you went in to help fellow people, keep something they love together after a tragedy.
Exactly. I basically was called in to be a part of what was going to be their last show.
Okay.
It was a celebration of Brad's life. And they called me in. They called in Sammy Hagar, Ann Wilson, Mickey Thomas, Godsmack, a bunch of different bands.
Okay.
And singers. And I wound up going in and singing, 3 or 4 songs with the band. And it was our first meeting, first time them hearing me and seeing me live, first time me hearing them and seeing them live. And everything worked out so well. It was such an exciting moment. They were planning on ending and stopping, that they came back after the show and called me the next day and said, we want to continue on and do it with you. Will you join the band? And I did.
Nice.
So it was really interesting how that worked out. It was a very interesting time and volatile time. My wife was sick. I was her caretaker. I didn't know how that was going to work, but she encouraged me to do it. I didn't want to do it. I finally did do it, and here the rest is history.
I've watched some YouTube shows of it, and it's amazing. And that was the beginning of the Tommy DiCarlo guy, right? Is that his name?
Yeah, basically they brought Tommy and they found him
at Home Depot or something, right?
Well, he had done some karaoke versions of Boston songs, and they heard it online. Tom's wife heard it.
Okay.
And he wound up telling Tom about Tommy. If it wasn't for her, Tom probably would never have heard Tommy.
Right.
And then same thing goes for me, probably. And they wound up bringing him in. They brought me in, and we both wound up joining the band.
Yeah, and it was a great show. You fit in right. You fit in very well voice wise, and you play guitar as well, right? So,
well, yeah, I walked in with my guitar, for rehearsals, and
which is natural.
They thought I was just singing, and when I plugged into Brad's rig, and which was surreal, and we started jamming, Tom's face lit up, and he stopped and said, "This is the best the guitars have ever sounded." So he was super, super excited and happy about how everything was sounding.
It's like being in a band with the rock and roll Thomas Edison.
Or Tesla. Don't forget Tesla. He's in the next he's cool cat. So.
Yeah, Tom's definitely, obviously, a brilliant guy. He's an engineer, and he's one of those guys where if he wants it, he'll build it. He'll make it.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So I wanted to also ask you something, and it's we want to respect your time, of course. So whenever you need to hop off, just let us know, and we'll stop right there. And it's totally not a problem.
I got about another maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I got another interview after you guys, but no worries, man. No problem.
Okay. All right, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I wanted to hop back into some of the imagery for the band. So, right before we did the interview, your team sent over some promotional images. And one of the images that I found very compelling is with the 4 of you. I mean, obviously the 4 of you at all times, but you're standing, and then I think to your right, there, and I forget the names. I apologize. Is sitting, and then Robert is on the drums, and he's got his hand under his chin. And I'm a drummer, and I look at life in various ways. I think all different musicians look at life in just a slightly different way, and that's what makes it beautiful when they come together. So, and I say this again on the positive side. What are the personality types of each of your band members, especially the current lineup? But like Robert and you, like what's more of the vibe between Robert and you and stuff?
Well, that's interesting. Interesting that you asked that. That's a good question, by the way. Very good question. We are very different. We're all different. Robert started out in the early days. He was really probably more of a go-getter than I was, and an overachiever. And then the roles have kind of reversed a little bit. I'm an extreme go-getter and overachiever.
No.
But Robert's a little bit more laid back, a little more, I don't want to say reclusive, but just a little bit more private, and to himself and laid back, a little bit more mellow in terms of personality. I'm a little bit more outgoing and going out and doing things and active and not as reclusive, which I used to be.
Uh-huh.
Oz, his personality is, obviously really nice guy. He can be really stern, I mean, we all can be, but Oz has a real stern side to him too, that maybe not a lot of people know, or have seen. And, Oz was like a brother. We grew up, we went to high school together and we grew up together. So been in each other's lives for a long time, but his personality, he's got that Latin blood, Latin fire to his personality. Yeah. Perry has that Southern, Southern charm and laid back Southern vibe. He's got that personality. So we're all different.
Just to throw it in there for people that might not know, Perry is a veteran of the band Firehouse.
He is, and he also played with Trace Morgan and Trace Atkins and Craig Morgan as well.
Yeah, there you go. So that's a nice resume. One thing we do want to extend is that Oz has had some health issues as of late. I personally have reached out to him and offered my prayers. So at Christmas time, maybe everybody can throw some love Oz's way, that we can hope everything works out well for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's been praying for Oz, and so far everything is working out well, and prayers are going, definitely being answered. And he's at a place right now where he's getting ready for surgery and has to cross that next step, to advance and move forward and putting this behind him. But he's in good spirits. He's doing well, and he's ready to do it.
Awesome. And here's two little things, because I know we're running out of time, but I think they're two interesting questions. So I'll start with the obvious one. We lost Eddie Van Halen. And I know that you're a big Van Halen fan. So anything to relay about meeting him or his effect on you, or anything that you would like to relay, that might be something to share with us?
Well, I never got the opportunity, like many, to sit down with Eddie and have dinner with him, or go to his studio or anything like that. A lot of my peers have experienced that, which is amazing. Our paths crossed many times, and the way they crossed is some of our crew guys worked for Van Halen. And fast forward to the early 90s, my wife wound up being hired to do Van Halen's makeup for their videos.
Cool.
And so I was in contact with the crew guys again that were working for Van Halen, Jakubuski and Mr. Dugan, Kevin Dugan. And, Kevin worked for us as well back in the day. So I'm back in contact, and I wound up going out to a show in Fresno and hanging out backstage and, meeting the guys and seeing the guys. So, but again, I never got a chance to just sit down and really talk shop with Eddie and hang out one-on-one.
Right.
He took my son to his house, took photos with my son, let him swim in the pool, all kinds of things like that, but just not that personal one-on-one time, sadly. but I'm probably one of the biggest fans on the planet, not in terms of knowing every lyric to every song, but in terms of Van Halen probably influenced me more than any other band musically, and just as an artist, as a producer, a writer, a performer, a guitar player, you name it.
Yeah. From what I understand, I think that some of the riffs and such, and then Stryper, when you guys first started out, even before Yellow and Black, like the first album, you wanted to bring in different lyrics that were more closely aligned with the beliefs. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we were listening to Van Halen when the first album came out, 78. I mean, I was, that's all I listened to.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't listen to any of it. Was that, and then later on, not long after that, I was, all I would listen to is British Steel. I'd go back and forth between British Steel and Van Halen.
Yeah, well,
and that was pretty much it.
Not bad albums to be digging into.
Yeah,
funny.
I'd be driving around town in my Cougar XR7 with the top down, and if I drove by your house, you'd hear Van Halen or British Steel.
Yeah, we interviewed Lips from Anvil, and he was talking about his lighting. He had a lighting director when they were nobodies, meaning club bands still. That used to be Tony Iommi's guitar roadie because he was a left-handed guitar player. And he got fired. Yeah, he got fired from Sabbath, but remained friends with them. And he got to go and actually get on the stage when Van Halen went up there on the first tour, and he got to play Eddie's guitar.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yep. And go backstage and hang out with the Sabbath guys while they were all wrecked.
So we only have a minute and a half left, just to respect Michael Sweet's time. Mike, did you have one last question you wanted to pop out there?
Yeah, I do. For one, again, thank you for being here.
Of course.
It's an amazing Christmas present for me and Tom, I'm sure.
Yep.
If I can say that. You have a Christmas show coming up in a couple days online. You might want to promote that.
I do. I have a Christmas show. We threw it together relatively quickly, and I wound up, putting together a band. I was going to go and just do it me acoustic, and then I wound up putting together a band. So it's acoustic electric.
Okay.
And it's going to be really cool. We're doing some Stryper songs, some solo songs, and some Christmas songs that I have never done before. And, it's available right now. I think the website where you can get tickets is tickets.venuenet.live.
And we'll be posting that to this video, tickets.venuenet.live.
That's it. And people can get tickets. We've got $10 tickets for general, $25 tickets for front row. That's where you'll be on the video wall, and there'll be interaction. And then I think all the VIPs are sold out.
That's cool. It's December 19th at 7 p.m.
Yep, this coming Saturday, 7 p.m., live streaming Christmas show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope everybody can make it.
Now, as we wrap up, I've been asking our guests lately to do us a small favor.
Yes,
if you don't mind.
Sure.
And you are probably one of the best people to do this, to probably bring the vibe we're looking for. We're bandmates, me and Tom. Tom and I, and we go back 15, 12 years or so. We have a friend who's still one of our best friends, and his name is John Achenbach. We call him Woody.
Yeah.
Woody has gone through third stage tongue cancer, mini heart attack, and a mini stroke in the last year.
Yeah.
And he's still positive. I was talking to him right before you came on, and he was all excited that we had the opportunity to speak to you. So what we're doing is we're just trying to at some point put a little bit of a collage together for him. So if you could send Woody a message from Mr. Sweet from Stryper, we would really, really appreciate it.
Well, of course. I just want to say, so Woody, if you're listening, buddy, this is Mr. Sweet. And just know that I'm thinking of you and praying for you. And I'm wishing you nothing but wellness. I hope God blesses your life. I hope your Christmas is amazing. And please stay strong and keep the faith and keep believing, and know that many people out there love you and are thinking of you and praying for you. Okay, my friend?
Hmm. Thank you very much,
Thank you so
Michael.
much. I want to extend the fact that we appreciate your time. I'll let Tom have his words. I want to say for me, I go back all the way to the beginning, and you've inspired me as a singer, songwriter, and as a person. I've had some health issues too, and you know, when I'm down, and there's a few things I reach out to, and you know, one of them is you and your music.
Oh,
So
wow, man.
this is an honor for me. And
Well, thanks, brother. Thank you, man. And dude, I hope you feel better, and I'll keep you in my prayers as well. Okay.
well, I'm not going through what he's going through, so I'm good. But I appreciate the prayers. They're always a good thing to have.
And Michael,
Yeah,
we very much appreciate
Tom, wrap it up.
Sorry,
you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed your time. Hope we have this opportunity again. Even the Devil Believes is the album that is out, and I'll let Tom wrap it up because I talk too much.
Yeah, no worries. So we'll be posting links to all the different places, including the 5th annual Christmas show with Michael Sweet this Saturday. You can also catch a lot of information about the band at www.stryper.com. Good that you held on to that domain.
Yep.
Legendary band Stryper. Michael Sweet is our guest today. We really appreciate it. And, you know, anytime you have time, because I know you're producing and recording, and, you know, you guys all keep busy. Anytime, obviously, please feel free to swing by the Rockland Sound podcast again, and we'll love to talk with you and anyone you see fit.
All right, buddy. You guys are incredible. Keep doing what you're doing. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
too, man.
and I hope
God
to
bless
see you guys soon.
And by the way, this is the last show of our first season. And we started it with Mr. Mitch LaFon, who I was watching you and him joust back and forth last night in humor. And you're ending it. So what a better way to go out at Christmas time than with Stryper's Michael Sweet from Stryper.
Well, guys, God bless you, and you guys stay safe and
you.
healthy out there. And I appreciate you having me on. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Michael
Okay, guys.
Sweet from
Bye.
Stryper, everyone. Take care. Another episode of Rockland Sound on the books. And we look forward to seeing all of you in 2021 for many, many more guests. So until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a blessed New Year. Take care.
Thank you for supporting us. We love you. Keep the positive going. Let's rock.